All right, so Jerry has his share of concerns. Let me start with my quarterback here, Tim Hasselbeck. As you watch Dak, and Domonique and I were talking about it at length yesterday, as you watch Dak right now, he just doesn't look like the same player that he was the first 6-7 weeks of the season. What are you seeing?
I got to be honest, Greeny, I don't feel like I'm seeing that. This idea that something's wrong with him or he's playing really poorly, I can't get on board with. Look, every game for good players isn't going to be a great game. Like, that's just the reality of it. Tom Brady a couple weeks ago against Indy was not great. Look, a lot of people think he's going to win the MVP. Kyler Murray threw 2 really bad interceptions on Monday night. Like, he's in the MVP race. Like, not every single game you play is going to be your best game. And when I look at Dallas and I look at Dak from the time he came back from his calf injury, albeit against Atlanta, nearly 300 yards, 2 touchdowns, no turnovers. Similar thing against Las Vegas, less than a month ago. And so I look at an offense that's being quarterbacked by a guy that's thrown 24 touchdowns and 10 picks, that scored the second most touchdowns in the NFL this year. And I feel like we're panicking because we just focus so much on Dallas. Like, I'm not worried about Dak Prescott and his ability to play well down the stretch of the season.
Interesting. David, how about you?
I couldn't disagree more. And I tell you what, I feel like I'm not even watching the same games because I understand what Tim's talking about, and we can point to his numbers. Last 7 games, 7 TDs, 6 interceptions. So we can point to the whole season. Something looks off. Something looks different to me. He doesn't look like the same guy that he did early in the season. He was on a tear. I mean, he was absolutely killing it. You see out the gates and 3 touchdowns, 4 touchdowns, 3 touchdowns in games, and going back and forth with Tom Brady. That guy, I don't see him anymore. I see more misses than I've seen from him in a while consistently, even when he does have time. So I think he's struggling. I don't know what it is. I don't know why it is. I know Dak's a stud, but the last 6-7 games, it hasn't looked like the same Dak Prescott to me.
I feel similarly, Tim. I don't mean to hold everybody out here, but Tim, let me come back to you. And there's some speculating maybe the calf is not 100%. He looks a little more hesitant to run in situations than he might normally. I'll give you one more thought here. Go ahead.
I don't know how we're saying 6-7 weeks. Like, we're heading into week 15. Week 12, he threw the ball 47 times for 375 yards, threw 2 touchdowns and no picks. Like, I don't. Like, that's not 6 and 7 weeks of bad football. And, I referenced, Brady's game against Indianapolis. He threw for, 220 yards and did, there's part of it, I think, that's, we're so uber focused. Has he run less? Yeah, I think he's run less. This past weekend against Washington, Washington's a good defense. He started off the game poorly, made a couple bad decisions, threw late down the middle. Again, not everything is going to be perfect all the time, even for great players. And I think, part of that, I think, is that, look, that's just how a season goes. I mean, Patrick Mahomes was a turnover machine at the beginning part of the year. And, look, that happens. To say, hey, what's wrong with somebody that's got a big body of work of playing well and still is making good plays, look, that's still what I see when I watch Dak Prescott play quarterback in that offense.
Okay, fair enough. We have a disagreement. Dianna, how about you?
Well, I see it this way. First of all, a defensive coordinator in the league shared with me that teams are actually blitzing less, right? So that's part of the game plan here for this Dallas offense that looks a little flat. Their run game isn't what it was those first 6 weeks that we're talking about where Dak looked really well. It's obvious the run game needs to be there. When he has to drop back, read these defenses that are really turning up the pressure because they're not expecting the run as much anymore. This is where Dak, I think, is struggling a bit. I think that's part of it. It's the offense, the play calling, the lack of the run game. And then maybe there is a little bit of a mental block right now.
So, I think they stopped blitzing because Dak is too smart for him. And I think that's what happened. And I know Tim and I talked about this a bunch of times early in the year as Dak was dissecting those defenses. And when you blitz quarterbacks, you tend to not want to blitz the veterans, the smart guys. You don't blitz Tom Brady. He's going to find because the blitzes give you weaknesses in coverage. I think what he's seeing a lot more is a little bit softer coverage, which happens to be the case around the league. I'm not sure that he can't figure it out. Or no, I am sure that he can figure it out. But this is just a slump. To Tim's point, part of it was Or I think back to Aaron Rodgers, first game of the year. Like, we can pick out these situations. When you have such a resume like Dak Prescott has, you give him the benefit of the doubt. I don't think anyone's arguing that last week's, 9 QBR was a good game for him.
Lowest of his career.
Late game interception. No one's arguing that that was good, but no one is panicking. He's going to be fine. He's had a rough couple games with some bad breaks and a couple of bad decisions, but it's nothing to be concerned about.
Yeah.
David, quick final thought, David, go.
It's not one game. It's the last 6 games. He's got 6 touchdown passes and 5 interceptions. That's not good. That's 6 games of body of work. It's not like it's just one game we're pointing to.
I got to be honest. I kind of see it more similarly to the way he does.
No, you guys worried about Dak Prescott?
There's a difference between pointing out that he's not playing great and being concerned.
I think the timing is what is making everybody on high alert now. It's December football. The Cowboys don't look good. The defense is keeping them in games. Whereas we can use examples of other quarterbacks that have struggled. It's just he's struggling at this point. I don't have concern that he isn't going to be able to get out of it.
We will see. Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.